Hey guys, Pastor Jeff here in the podcast studio. Hope you've been having a great week. Last week we got to talk about the sin of partiality or personal favoritism, bias or prejudice. And we said the challenge that we have when it comes to loving the Lord with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and all our strength is really that second commandment that's just like it, that we're called to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're to love other people in the same way we'd want them to love us. We're to treat other people in the same way we'd want them to treat us. And I said last week that mercy is what you're called to dispense, and that you're going to have opportunities all this week to dispense mercy. Opportunities where you could bring judgment, where you could bring justice, where you could tell people that they're wrong, but you're going to overlook that. You're going to give them a break. You're not going to bring what they deserve. You're going to offer and extend mercy. Have you had opportunities? I know I have. And it's really interesting because when you think about your growth in Christ and we're to love other people as we were to love ourselves, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then Jesus takes it even one step further. He says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another even as I have loved you. So we're called to love other people not only the way that we'd want to be treated, but we're called to love other people the way Christ, working through us, wants to treat them. And oftentimes we say, well, that's not that big of a deal. I love the Lord. I go to church. I do all this. No, it's evidence that you believe, because if you're guilty of breaking one part of the law, like we said, you're guilty of breaking it all. And I think a way of thinking about this is I've been thinking about this all week and marinating on the sermon and the words I was teaching and what God's been teaching me through them is, if we're to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, and all our strength, and we're to love our neighbor as ourselves, in some ways, in the way you love your neighbor as yourself is a direct correlation to how much you really love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Because isn't it true sometimes when it comes to other people, like, I can't love them. They're too difficult to love. It starts with loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You have to love God with everything you have in order to love other people. You just have to. And if you don't love other people, it's an evidence that you don't love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. See, we live in a world where we want to be religious, where we're pulled in by religion. Even within Christianity, in the true faith, the devil lies to us to get us to be religious rather than be relational. Because when you think about the fact to love God and to love others, ministry is relationships. Service is relationships. It's a relationship with God and a relationship with others. That's what Christianity, that's what Christ is the center of, is the relationship we have with God that translates into the relationships we have with other people. It's that simple. And if you have a good relationship with God, it will translate into the way in which you treat others. Now, what makes this even more difficult, Jesus told us that in these last days that the love of most people would grow cold because of the lawlessness in the world. Matthew 24:12, I believe. And when Jesus says that, we are living in the last days. From the time Jesus rose from the dead until he returns, we're living in the last days. But as you're watching the news, as you're seeing things play out in Israel, friends, I'm telling you, we are in the last days. Pastor Jeff, how many days? Don't know. Don't need to know, but our call in these last days is to love God radically and to love other people radically and to be a testimony and a witness of his grace until the Lord comes. That's why it's essential that we drill this down. We work on this in our own sphere of influence, because this is what grows our faith in Christ. This is what grows our joy in Christ. This is what grows our witness in Christ. If we're really going to be ones to advance the gospel and share Christ and do this with others, then we genuinely need to love people. In the internship, we spell love LVV. We talk about look at them, give them visual approval, give them verbal approval. That's a way that you can grow in the way in which you love others, because when you're looking at someone, you're genuinely interested in someone, you're giving them visual approval, verbal approval. That's when people know, because we intuitively know whether people are just playing a game or whether people genuinely love us. Genuinely care for other people because you genuinely love God and you know that he genuinely created all other people and that every single person you meet is fearfully and wonderfully made. Friends, you do not need to agree with every person that you're with. People have been asking me all week, well, where do I draw the line? And when do I do this? And how? You draw the line where the Bible draws the line, and you stay steadfast with who God calls you to be. And you never change that. You don't need to shy away from speaking that or living that. But it doesn't keep you from stopping to love other people. Friends, this is a great series in the book of James. I am so excited tomorrow to talk about a topic that is so often avoided or misunderstood in the church, and it's faith and works. And how do they work together? And do they work together, or are they totally distinct? And denominations have split over this over the years. We're going to bring it home tomorrow. It is going to be an incredible time for you to understand faith and works. So please plan on seeing us. Please plan on joining us in person tomorrow if you can. And know this until I see you, from my heart to yours, that you are loved.